She scoffed at the human by her side until he revealed a power no one expected. The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness of space. Like a metal flower, ships from dozens of worlds came and went through its many docking bays. Inside its walls, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered to decide the future of trade and territory. Commander Viral Threshan stood near Docking Bay 7 with her arms crossed over her chest. Her silver scales caught the light as she watched the arriving ship. She was tall and powerful, a respected leader among the Kithori people. Her species had traveled the stars for thousands of years. They had built empires and conquered worlds. Today, she was waiting for her new partner. The ship's door opened with a hiss of air. A figure stepped out into the bright lights of the bay. Virel felt her stomach drop with disappointment. The human was average height, with brown hair and ordinary features. He wore simple clothes and carried a small bag over his shoulder. He had no claws, no fangs, no armored skin. His body looked soft and weak. When he smiled at her, Virel wanted to turn around and leave. His name was Marcus Cole. He was a diplomat from Earth. "Commander Threshan," Marcus said with a small bow, "I am honored to work with you. The journey here was long, but I am ready to begin." Viril did not return his smile. "I requested a Mandari empath for this mission. Their telepathic abilities would have been useful in the negotiations. Instead, the Council sends me a human." Marcus kept smiling. "I understand your concern, but I promise to do my best." "Your best," Viril repeated the words like they tasted bad. The Valen Corridor negotiations will decide the fate of the most important trade route in the galaxy. 12 species will fight for control. "I need excellence, not effort." She turned and walked toward the interior of the station. "Follow me. Stay quiet. Do not speak unless I tell you to speak. Do not embarrass our delegation." Marcus picked up his bag and followed her without complaint. Over the next 3 days, Viel prepared for the negotiations. She studied reports and reviewed strategies. She practiced arguments and memorized the positions of every delegation. The stakes were enormous. Whoever controlled the Valen Corridor would control the flow of goods across half the galaxy. During this time, she watched Marcus with growing frustration. The human did not study. He did not prepare. Instead, he wandered the station like a tourist. He visited the food courts and tried strange alien dishes. He walked through the gardens and admired the plants from distant worlds. He played games with the maintenance workers and shared drinks with the cleaning staff. One evening, Virel found him sitting with a group of Zorvathi engineers, laughing at some jokes she could not understand. "What are you doing?" she demanded. Marcus looked up with his ever-present smile. "Making friends, Commander. The Zorvathi have wonderful stories about their home world. We are not here to make friends. We are here to win." "Of course," Marcus agreed easily, "but there is more than one way to win." Viril did not understand what he meant. She did not try to understand. In her mind, the human was useless weight she would have to carry through these negotiations. The opening ceremony took place in the Grand Chamber of Nexus Prime. Representatives from 12 species filled the vast room. The Vorax hegemony sent their fiercest warriors in black armor. The Mindari Collective brought their white-robed telepaths. The Zorvathi displayed their technological might with floating display screens. Each delegation tried to appear more powerful than the others. The Kithori delegation stood proud and strong. Their silver scales gleamed under the lights. Their reputation as skilled negotiators made other species nervous. And beside them stood Marcus Cole, looking small and out of place. Viril noticed other delegates pointing at him and whispering. She heard fragments of their conversations. "Is that a human? What is it doing here? The Kithori must be desperate." Her shame burned hot in her chest. During a break in the ceremony, a Vorax diplomat approached Viril. His name was High Commander Draxus, and he was the leader of the Vorax delegation. He was huge, with dark red scales and teeth like knives. His black eyes looked at Marcus with amusement. "I see the mighty Kithori have brought a pet," Draxus said with a cruel smile. "Tell me, Commander Threshan, does your human do tricks? Can it fetch things for you? Or is it merely decoration?" Virel felt her claws extend with anger, but before she could respond, Marcus appeared beside them. "I can juggle," Marcus said in a friendly voice. "3 balls, sometimes 4. But I find negotiations more interesting than tricks." Draxus laughed loudly. Several nearby delegates joined him. The sound echoed through the chamber like an insult. "It speaks," Draxus said with mock surprise. "How amusing." "Enjoy the negotiations, little human. Try not to get stepped on." He walked away, still laughing. Virel turned on Marcus with fury in her eyes. "You should not have spoken. You made us look weak." "I apologize, Commander," Marcus said calmly. "But may I ask you a question?" "What?" "Did you notice that Draxus touched his chest 3 times while he was speaking? Among the Vorax, that gesture indicates anxiety. He is worried about something." Also, his aide standing behind him kept checking a communication device. "They are expecting important news." Marcus paused, and the stain on his uniform collar suggests he has been drinking heavily. Perhaps he is under pressure. Virel stared at the human. "How do you know these things?" Marcus smiled again, but this time Virel saw something different in his eyes. Something sharp and aware. "I watch, Commander. I listen. I remember. It is what humans do." He walked away to get a drink, leaving Virel alone with her thoughts. For the first time since meeting him, she wondered if she had judged the human too quickly. But she pushed the thought away. The negotiations would begin tomorrow. She needed to focus on real problems, not the strange behavior of her unwanted partner. She did not know that everything was about to change. The first day of negotiations was a disaster. The grand chamber was filled with angry voices. Delegates shouted at each other across the massive round table. The Vorax hegemony demanded complete military control of the Valen corridor. The Mindari collective wanted shared governance with their telepaths monitoring all trade. The Zorvathi claimed the corridor belonged to them because their ancestors had discovered it thousands of years ago. Nobody agreed on anything. Virel worked hard to keep the Kythori position strong. She quoted old treaties and reminded everyone of past agreements. She spoke with confidence and authority. But every time she made progress, High Commander Draxus pushed back harder. "The Kythori speak of fairness," Draxus growled, his dark eyes gleaming with pleasure. "But we all know they want the corridor for themselves. Their words are poison wrapped in silk." "That is a lie," Virel responded sharply. "The Kythori have always honored their agreements." "Have you?" Draxi smiled his cruel smile. "Then why did your fleet patrol the neutral zone last month? Why did your traders raise prices on medical supplies? The hegemony sees the truth behind your masks." The argument continued for hours. By the end of the first day, 3 delegations had walked out in anger. 2 others had made threats. The Mindari lead empath, a female named Counselor Yara, looked exhausted from trying to calm everyone's emotions. Virel returned to her quarters, feeling defeated. She found Marcus sitting at a small table near the window. He had a cup of tea in his hand and papers spread out before him. Actual paper, the kind made from trees. Nobody used paper anymore. It was ancient technology. "What are you doing?" Virel asked with frustration. "While I fought for our people, you sat here drinking tea?" "I was working," Marcus replied calmly. "On what? Your paper collection?" Marcus gestured for her to sit down. Something in his manner made Virel pause. She had never seen him look so serious before. "Commander, may I show you something?" Virel sat down across from him, her arms crossed. "Make it quick. I need to prepare for tomorrow." Marcus spread his papers across the table. They were covered with notes, names, and connecting lines. It looked like a map of relationships between all the delegations. "I have been busy these past few days," Marcus began. "Not with formal preparation, but with something different. I talked to people. Service workers, junior staff members, guards, cooks, the invisible people that powerful beings never notice. Why would you waste time with them? Because they see everything. They hear, and they are happy to share with someone who treats them kindly." Marcus pointed to a name on his paper. "High Commander Draxus. He appears strong and confident, yes, but his youngest daughter was rejected from the Hegemony Military Academy 3 years ago. It was a public embarrassment. His political enemies used it against him. Virel leaned forward slightly. I did not know this. There is more. His trade minister is stealing money through fake companies. Draxus probably knows but cannot act because the minister has powerful friends. Also, Drax's faction is losing influence back home. His rivals are growing stronger every day. Marcus looked up at Virel. He needs a victory here. Not for the hegemony, but for himself. If he returns home without a win, his career is finished. Virel felt her mind racing with new possibilities. If we offer him something that looks like a victory, we can get what we actually need in return, Marcus finished. He cares about appearance more than substance right now. How do you know all this? Marcus smiled softly. His personal assistant talks too much when she drinks. The cleaning staff on his floor hear arguments through the walls. A cook noticed he has stopped eating properly, which suggests stress. He shrugged. Small pieces of information that become a big picture when you put them together. Virel looked at the papers with new respect. Every delegation was mapped out with notes about their secrets, weaknesses, and hidden motivations. The Mindari were worried about a disease spreading on their home world. The Zorvathi leader was fighting with his brother over family inheritance. A junior Vorax diplomat had gambling debts. This is incredible, Virel admitted. No intelligence report gave us this information. Intelligence agencies watch important people, Marcus said. I watch everyone else. Humans learned long ago that the small people often know the biggest secrets. Virel studied the human across from her. He looked the same as before, soft and ordinary. But now she saw something hiding behind his friendly smile. It was the patience of a hunter. The awareness of someone who never stopped observing. Why did you not show me this earlier? She asked. You were not ready to listen. You thought I was useless. If I had approached you before, you would have ignored me. Marcus gathered his papers. Humans are used to being underestimated. We learned to be useful before we demand respect. They worked together through the night. Marcus explained each delegation's pressure points, while Virel developed strategies to use them. By morning, they had a new plan for the negotiations. This might actually work, Virel said with surprise in her voice. It will work, Marcus assured her. But we must be careful. Someone else is also playing games here. I have heard whispers of secret meetings and hidden agendas. The situation is more complicated than it appears. Before Virel could ask more questions, an alarm began to sound outside their quarters. Red lights flashed in the corridor. They heard running footsteps and shouting voices. Virel opened the door and grabbed a passing guard. What is happening? The guard's face was pale with shock. Counselor Yara, Commander. The Mindari lead empath. She has been found dead in her quarters. The guard swallowed hard. And the evidence points to the Kithori delegation. They are saying one of your people killed her. Virel felt the world spin around her. This could not be happening. She looked back at Marcus. His friendly smile was gone. His eyes were hard and focused. It begins, he said quietly. The real game beneath the game. The news of the murder spread through Nexus Prime like fire through dry grass. Every corridor buzzed with whispers. Every delegation locked their doors and posted guards. The Mindari telepaths moved through the station with cold anger in their eyes. Their psychic probes touched every mind they passed, searching for guilt. At the center of this storm stood Commander Virel Threshan. Station security had placed her under guard in her quarters. She was not allowed to leave. She was not allowed to contact her home world. She sat alone, staring at the evidence that condemned her. A Kithori ceremonial blade, covered in blood. Security footage showing a scaled figure near the victim's room. DNA traces that matched Kithori biology. The murdered Mindari empath had been one of the most respected telepaths in the galaxy. She had been close to forming an alliance with the Kithori delegation. Now she was dead, and all evidence pointed at Virel. I did not do this, Virel said to the empty room. Her claws scraped against the metal table. Someone is trying to destroy us. The door opened. Marcus Cole walked in, carrying a cup of hot tea. The guards tried to stop him, but he showed them a special pass signed by the station commander. I brought you something to drink, Marcus said. You look like you need it. Virel knocked the cup from his hand. It shattered against the wall. I do not need tea. I need answers. I need freedom. I need to find whoever did this and tear them apart. Marcus looked at the broken cup calmly. Anger will not help us, Commander. Clear thinking will. Us? Viral laughed bitterly. There is no us. When the tribunal finds me guilty, the Kithari delegation will be expelled in shame. Our enemies will celebrate. And you will return to Earth with an interesting story to tell. Marcus sat down across from her. His face was serious now. No smile, no friendly warmth. Just focus. The blade was taken from your diplomatic case, he said. I checked the access logs. Someone used a remote hacking technique to open the lock. Only 3 species in the galaxy have mastered this technique. The Kithori are not one of them. Viral looked up. How do you know this? I asked the right people the right questions. Pages and pages covered in small handwriting. The security footage shows a Kithori near the victim's quarters. But I watched that footage 50 times. The figure walks wrong. Walks wrong? Your species has a specific way of moving. Your hip joints rotate differently than other reptilian species. The figure in the footage does not move like a real Kithori. Someone wore a disguise, but they did not study your people carefully enough. Virel felt something spark in her chest. Hope, small and fragile, but real. Who would do this? She asked. Who benefits from destroying the Kithori delegation? Marcus spread his notes across the table. Lines connected names to names. Circles highlighted important facts. Arrows showed relationships between different people and groups. The Mindari empath was not the real target, Marcus explained. She was killed to create a crisis. The real target is the alliance that was forming between your people and the Mindari collective. Together, you would have enough votes to control the Valen corridor negotiations. The Vorax, Viral said immediately. They oppose us at every turn. Not the Vorax as a group. One person within the Vorax delegation. Marcus pointed to a name on his notes. A junior diplomat named Kareth Vor. She has connections to a separatist faction within the hegemony. This faction wants chaos. They want the negotiations to fail. How can you possibly know this? Marcus smiled slightly. 3 days ago, I played cards with a Vorax cargo handler. He told me about tensions within their delegation. Yesterday, I shared a meal with a Mindari servant who noticed strange behavior from one of the Vorax aides. This morning, I talked to a cleaning worker who found unusual chemical traces in a maintenance corridor. Alone, these things mean nothing. Together, they tell a story. Viral stared at the human with new eyes. She had watched him wander the station, talking to workers and servants. She had thought he was wasting time. Now she understood. He had been building a web of information. He had been seeing what others ignored. The tribunal meets in 2 hours, she said. Can you prove any of this? I can try, but I need you to trust me. Trust. It was not easy for Viral. Her species valued strength and independence. They did not rely on others, especially not on weak aliens from young civilizations, but she had no other choice. What do you need me to do? She asked. Nothing. Just sit in the tribunal and let me speak. The Grand Chamber was packed with delegates from all 12 species. The air was thick with tension and anger. The Mindari delegation sat in white robes, their faces like stone. The Vorax watched with hungry eyes, eager to see the Kithori fall. Viral sat in the chair of the accused. Heavy chains bound her wrists. Guards stood on either side of her. She had never felt so alone. The tribunal began. Evidence was presented. Witnesses spoke against her. The Mindari prosecutor demanded justice with tears in her eyes. Everything pointed to Viral's guilt. Then Marcus Cole stood up. The chamber fell silent. A human speaking at a galactic tribunal. It was unheard of. Ridiculous! Several delegates laughed. Honored representatives, Marcus said, his voice calm and clear. I ask permission to present new evidence. The head judge, an ancient Zorvathi with gray skin, looked at him with surprise. You are the human attaché. You have no standing in this tribunal. I have evidence that will reveal the true killer. Will you refuse to hear it? The chamber buzzed with whispers. The judge considered for a long moment. Speak quickly, human. Do not waste our time. Marcus nodded. He walked to the center of the chamber, carrying his simple paper notes. He looked small and fragile, surrounded by powerful aliens. Then he began to speak. And everything changed. Marcus stood in the center of the grand chamber. Every eye watched him. Every ear listened. The most powerful beings in the galaxy waited to hear what this small human would say. He began slowly, his voice steady and calm. The evidence against Commander Thracion is strong, Marcus said. A Kithori blade, security footage, DNA traces. Any reasonable person would believe she is guilty. The Mundari prosecutor nodded with satisfaction. The Vorax delegate smiled. But evidence can be created, Marcus continued. Evidence can be planted, and the truth often hides beneath what we see on the surface. He held up a small device. A holographic image appeared in the air above him. It showed the security footage of the scaled figure walking near the victim's quarters. Watch carefully, Marcus said. Watch how this figure moves. He played the footage 3 times. Then he showed another video beside it. This one showed Commander Viral walking through the station earlier that day. The Kithori have a unique way of walking, Marcus explained. Their hip joints rotate at a specific angle. Every Kithori moves this way. It is built into their bones. He pointed at the 2 figures. The real Commander Viral rotates her hips 17 degrees with each step. The figure in the murder footage rotates only 8 degrees. This is not a Kithori. This is someone wearing a Kithori disguise. Whispers filled the chamber. The Mondari prosecutor stood up with anger on her face. This proves nothing, she said. Perhaps the commander was walking differently that night. Perhaps she was being careful. Perhaps, Marcus agreed. So let us look at more evidence. He changed the holographic display. Now it showed the access logs for Viral's diplomatic case where the murder weapon had been stored. The ceremonial blade was taken from a locked case. The lock was opened using a remote hacking technique. This technique requires specific technology that only 3 species possess. He paused. The Kithori do not have this technology. They have never developed it. Commander Viral could not have opened her own case this way. The chamber grew quieter. Delegates leaned forward in their seats. But who does have this technology? Marcus asked. He answered his own question. The Vorax hegemony. Immediately, High Commander Draxus jumped to his feet. His face was dark with rage. You dare accuse the hegemony? He roared. You are nothing but a weak human from a primitive world. You have no right to speak here. Marcus did not flinch. I accuse no one without evidence, High Commander. Please, let me continue. The head judge raised her hand for silence. Continue, human, but choose your words carefully. Marcus nodded. He changed the display again. Now it showed chemical analysis reports. 2 days before the murder, unusual chemical traces were found in a maintenance corridor near the Vorax delegation's quarters. These chemicals are used to create synthetic DNA. Someone was manufacturing false evidence. He showed another image, communication records. These records show encrypted messages sent from Nexus Prime to a known separatist group within the Vorax hegemony. The messages were sent from a personal device registered to a junior Vorax diplomat named Karath Vor. Every head turned toward the Vorax delegation. A young female Vorax with pale red scales sat frozen in her seat. Her eyes were wide with fear. Karath Vor has connections to a faction that wants the Valen Corridor negotiations to fail, Marcus continued. This faction profits from chaos and conflict. They did not want the Kithori and Mindari to form an alliance, so they created a murder that would tear the 2 species apart. Karath Vor suddenly stood up. Her chair fell backward with a crash. Lies, she hissed. All lies from a pathetic human. Then explain the chemicals, Marcus said calmly. Explain the communication records. Explain why you were seen near the maintenance corridor at midnight 3 days ago. Who saw me? No one important. No one who matters. Marcus smiled slightly. A cleaning worker saw you. A cargo handler noticed you. A kitchen servant watched you pass. These people see everything, but no one ever asks them questions. He paused. Except me. Karath Vor's face twisted with hatred. She reached into a robe and pulled out a small weapon. Screams filled the chamber. Guards rushed forward, but before anyone could reach her, Karath Vor pressed a button on her wrist device. The lights in the chamber flickered. Every screen went dark. Then a loud alarm began to sound throughout the station. You think you have won, human? Karath Vor laughed wildly. This is only the beginning. My people are coming. The negotiations are finished. Through the large windows of the grand chamber, everyone saw ships appearing from the darkness of space. Dozens of vessels, sleek and armed with heavy weapons. They moved toward Nexus Prime, like sharks smelling blood. The first explosion hit the station's outer ring. The floor shook, ceiling panels fell. Delegates screamed and ran for the exits. In the chaos, Karath Vor tried to escape. But Virel was faster. The Kithori commander, still wearing her chains, threw herself at the Vorax traitor. They crashed to the ground together. You destroyed my honor, Virel growled. You murdered an innocent woman. And I would do it again, Karath Vor spat back. Station security finally reached them. They pulled the two apart and took Karath Vor into custody. But there was no time for justice now. The station shook with another explosion. Fire alarms joined the warning sirens. Marcus helped Virel to her feet. A security officer removed her chains. We need to evacuate, Marcus said. The station cannot survive this attack. Virel looked at the chaos around them. Delegates from 12 species ran in panic. Old enemies pushed past each other, all thinking only of survival. How do we escape? She asked. The attackers will control the main docking base. Marcus pulled out his paper notes. Even now, in the middle of disaster, he had a plan. I know another way, he said. Follow me. Together, they ran into the burning corridors of Nexus Prime. Fire and smoke filled the corridors of Nexus Prime. The station groaned like a wounded animal. Explosions echoed from every direction. The attack had turned the center of galactic diplomacy into a death trap. Marcus Cole ran through the chaos with Commander Virel close behind him. They gathered survivors as they moved. A wounded Mindari diplomat, 2 Zorvati engineers, a frightened group of servants and workers. Soon, nearly 50 beings followed the human through the burning station. Where are you taking us? A Vorax delegate demanded. He was old and tired, struggling to keep up. The docking bays are the other direction. The attackers control the docking bays, Marcus replied without stopping. They are killing everyone who tries to escape that way. Then where can we go? Somewhere they do not expect. Marcus led them deeper into the station. They passed through maintenance tunnels and forgotten storage rooms. They climbed down ladders and crawled through narrow spaces. The path seemed random, but Marcus moved with purpose. Virel stayed close to him. Her body was tired and bruised, but her mind was sharp. How do you know this route? She asked. I talked to the maintenance workers during the first week, Marcus said. They told me about the old sections of the station, parts that were sealed long ago, parts that most people have forgotten. You planned for this? No, I simply listened to everyone who would talk to me. I remembered everything they said. He paused at a junction and checked his paper notes. Humans are not strong like the Kithori. We are not telepathic like the Mandari. We cannot build technology like the Zorvathi, but we remember. We connect details. We find patterns. They continued moving. The group grew larger as they found more survivors. Species that had argued and threatened each other now walked side by side. Fear had erased their differences. After an hour of difficult travel, they reached a sealed door covered in dust and rust. Marcus examined the lock carefully. This leads to an old emergency bay, he said. It was built when the station was first constructed. There should be shuttles inside. Should be? The old Vorax delegate repeated. You are not certain? I am certain the bay exists. I am hopeful the shuttles still work. Virel stepped forward. Let me. She extended her claws and tore the lock apart with her bare hands. The door groaned open. Inside, they found exactly what Marcus had promised. 6 old shuttles sat in the dusty bay. They were ancient models, simple and ugly. But their engines still glowed with power. "Everyone get inside," Marcus ordered. "Fill every shuttle. Leave no one behind." The survivors rushed forward. Viral organized them quickly, using her military training to create order from chaos. Within minutes, all 50 beings were loaded into the shuttles. Marcus stood at the bay's control panel, working to open the external doors. His fingers moved quickly over the old buttons. "The attackers will see us launch," Viral said, standing beside him. "Their ships will chase us." "Yes," Marcus agreed. "But I sent a message before we left the main station. Help is coming." "What help?" "Who did you contact?" Marcus smiled. "Everyone I made friends with over the past week." The external doors opened. Stars filled the view ahead, and in the distance, ships were arriving. Not attack ships. Rescue ships. Vessels from a dozen different worlds, called by messages Marcus had sent to the contacts he had made. The cargo handler he had played cards with had family on a nearby freighter. The cleaning worker he had shared meals with had connections to a passenger liner. The engineers he had laughed with knew captains who owed them favors. One human had built a network across the entire station, not through power or threats, through kindness, through conversation, through the simple act of treating everyone as worthy of respect. The shuttles launched into space. Behind them, Nexus Prime burned. The attacking ships tried to chase them, but the rescue vessels moved to block their path. It was not a battle. It was an escape. And it worked. 3 hours later, the survivors reached safety at a nearby space station. Medical teams treated the wounded. Diplomats sent messages to their home worlds. The news of the attack spread across the galaxy. Viral found Marcus sitting alone in a quiet corner. He looked exhausted. His clothes were torn and dirty, but he was smiling. Then she sat down beside him. 53 lives, she said. 12 different species, all saved because of you. All saved because of us, Marcus corrected. I could not have done it alone. You led our people through danger. You kept everyone calm. You tore open that door with your bare hands. Viral shook her head slowly. When I first met you, I thought you were weak. I thought humans were a joke. A young species with nothing to offer the galaxy. And now? Viral looked at him carefully. This small, soft creature who had no claws or fangs or armor. This being who could not read minds or survive in vacuum or lift 10 times his weight. Your power is not in your body. It is not in technology or weapons. Your power is connection. You see people when others see only tools. You build bridges when others build walls. You find hope when others see only darkness. Marcus nodded slowly. Humans have survived ice ages and plagues. We have survived wars and disasters, not because we are strong, but because we work together. We help each other. We never give up. Viral extended her clawed hand toward him. It was a gesture of deep respect among the Cathori. I scoffed at the human by my side, she said. I was wrong. You have a power that no one expected. And I am honored to call you my partner. Marcus took her hand gently. The galaxy is changing, Commander. Old enemies are becoming friends. New alliances are forming. Humans are part of this story now. He looked out at the stars beyond the window. And we are just getting started. Viral smiled. It was a rare expression for her species. Then let us write this story together, she said. And somewhere among the distant stars, the future waited for them both. The end.